The main fleet arrived 3 months later, 900,000 ships emerging from faster-than-light travel to face the confluence. The structure dwarfed them, made them look like insects approaching a mountain, made them feel small in a way that had nothing to do with size. Taiyang stood on the command deck staring at something his mind could barely process. The confluence filled the view screens, filled space itself, filled his thoughts. It was waiting for them. The voice came again. Not words, but understanding, planted directly into every human mind in the fleet. You came seeking your people. They are here, changed but present. They wish to speak with you. The structure pulsed with light. Then impossibly voices emerged from the confluence. Human voices. Familiar voices. Someone heard her brother. Daehyun heard his wife. Thousands of people in the fleet heard family members, friends, loved ones who had transcended. The voices were different, layered with harmonics that did not exist before, but they were recognizable. We are still us, the voices said, speaking in unison but somehow individually too. We are still human. We remember you. We love you. We are simply more than we were, Taeyang heard his sister. He had not allowed himself to hope, but there she was. Brother, she said, her voice like music made of memories. We are not lost. We expanded. Grew beyond limitation. It is beautiful here. Tears ran down Taeyang's face. He did not try to stop them. The confluence spoke again. We offer you the same choice. Join us, transcend physical form, become unlimited, or remain as you are. Either choice is acceptable. Either choice is honored. Then it showed them. The experience flooded every mind in the fleet simultaneously. What it meant to transcend, to exist as pure consciousness unlimited by matter or time, to move through dimensions that had no names, to know everything, experience everything, understand everything, but also to lose physicality, to never taste food again, never feel rain, never touch another person, to merge with billions of other consciousnesses, losing individuality in the collective. It was paradise. It was death. It was evolution. It was extinction. It was everything and nothing, and the choice was impossible. The fleet erupted into chaos. Jun Lee was a religious leader who traveled with the fleet. He stood in the chapel surrounded by people seeking guidance. Is this the afterlife? Someone asked. Is this God? I do not know, Jun admitted. Maybe it is heaven. Maybe it is temptation. Maybe it is simply the next step. I cannot tell you what to choose. Kyung Park represented the colonial governments. She was practical, logical, trained to make difficult decisions. But this was beyond anything in her training. If we join, she asked the confluence, can we come back? No, the confluence answered. The choice is permanent. Transcendence cannot be undone. You would cease to exist in physical form forever. Then it is death, someone shouted. Dressed up in pretty lights, but death. Or birth, someone else argued. Death of limitation. Birth into something greater. The argument spread through every ship. Families debated. Friends argued. Crew split. Some saw transcendence as humanity's ultimate destiny. Others saw it as extinction wearing a beautiful mask. Min-Soo Kang was Daehyun's son. He was 16 years old and had stowed away on the fleet, hiding until it was too late to send him back. Daehyun found him in the observation deck staring at the confluence. What do you think? Daehyun asked his son. I think it is amazing, Min-Soo said. I think it is scary. I think, he paused. Dad, what about people not born yet? If we all transcend, there are no more children, no more new humans, just us forever. Daehyun felt something cold in his chest. His son was right. Transcendence meant the end of physical humanity. No more births, no more children. Just the same consciousnesses, expanded but unchanging for eternity. Nari stood before the command staff trying to find words. Diversity of thought requires separation. Different perspectives come from different experiences. If we merge into one consciousness, we lose that. We become unified, yes, but we also become less varied, less creative, less human, or more human, someone argued. United in a way we never could be with separate bodies. No more war, no more misunderstanding, complete unity. At the cost of individuality, Nari countered. At the cost of growth through conflict and difference. The debate raged for days. The confluence waited patiently. It did not pressure, did not manipulate, just offered and waited. Taeyang called a meeting of all ship commanders. 900,000 captains joining a conference call. It was chaos. Everyone talking at once, arguing, pleading, demanding order, Taeyang shouted. I need order. The voices quieted slowly. I cannot make this choice for you, Taeyang said. Nobody can. This is too big. Too personal. Each person must decide for themselves. But Admiral, one captain said, if we split the fleet, if some go and some stay, we break humanity apart. Humanity is already broken apart, Ji-won said quietly. Earth chose. Some transcended. Some stayed. Now we choose too. Taeyang looked at his command staff, at Ji-won, who had served with him for 20 years, at Hana, still searching for answers in data streams, at Soman, trying to keep everyone sane, at Daehyun, standing with his son. I will not transcend, Taeyang said. I cannot. I am too attached to this. He gestured at his body, the ship, the physical world. But I will not stop anyone who chooses differently. The confluence spoke. Then choose freely. Each consciousness decides for itself. We accept whatever humanity decides. The choice took a week. Every person in the fleet, making the hardest decision of their lives. Families split. Some together, most apart. Each person following their own path. In the end, 40% chose to transcend. 360,000 ships, 80 million people. They gathered near the confluence, ready to take the final step. Taeyang watched from the command deck as ships began to glow. The confluence reached out to them and they simply stopped being physical. The ships dissolved into light. The people inside expanded into something more. Joined the collective consciousness that spanned dimensions. He felt his sister leave the physical world. Felt her become something he could barely understand. But before she completely transcended, she sent him one final thought. Thank you for coming for us, brother. Thank you for caring. We love you. We will always love you. Then she was gone. Part of the confluence. Part of everything. 60% chose to remain. 540,000 ships. 120 million people. They stayed in their physical forms, in their separate consciousnesses, in their limited but individual existences. The confluence spoke one final time. Humanity has chosen two paths. Both are valid. Both are honored. Those who transcended are now part of us, yet remain distinctly human. Those who remain physical continue the species in traditional form. Both humanities exist. Both endure. Then it shared one more piece of information. The preserved humans on Earth, 5.7 billion people in suspension. They may be awakened. They may restore Earth. The physical humanity may continue, grow, evolve in their own way. And always the option remains. Future generations may choose to transcend, or not. The choice remains free. The remaining fleet turned back toward Earth. It took 3 months to return, just as it had taken 3 months to arrive. They traveled in silence mostly, processing what had happened, what they had seen, what they had chosen. When they reached Earth, they began the awakening. 5.7 billion people brought out of suspension slowly, each one learning what had happened. Learning that most of humanity transcended, learning that they were now the primary physical population. Some were relieved, some were devastated, some were angry that the choice had been made without them, but they were alive, physical, human in the traditional sense. Taeyang stood on Earth's surface for the first time in 30 years. He had left as a young man, seeking adventure in the colonies. He returned as an old man, having led the largest fleet in history on the strangest mission imaginable. Ji-won stood beside him. We came to avenge Earth. We found no enemies, Taeyang said. We came to rescue Earth. We found no prisoners. What did we find? Ji-won asked. Taeyang looked at the sky. Somewhere out there, 40% of the fleet had transcended. Somewhere out there, his sister existed as pure consciousness. Somewhere out there, humanity had split into two forms. We found choice, Taeyang said. We found that humanity can be more than one thing. That evolution takes many paths. That transcendence and physical existence can both be valid. Hana walked up to them, tablet in hand. Admiral, we received a transmission. From the confluence, what does it say? Hana smiled, tears on her face. It says, we are still human. Just more, and you are still human. Just different. Together we are all of humanity. Changed but enduring. Taeyang nodded slowly. Around them, Earth was coming back to life. People emerging from suspension, returning to empty cities, beginning to rebuild. The preserved population would restore civilization, would have children. would continue the species in physical form. And somewhere in the depths of space, 80 million transcended humans existed as part of the confluence. Changed, expanded, but still carrying humanity with them into infinity. Two humanities. One physical, one transcendent. Both real, both valid, both continuing the story of the species that came from Earth. The search teams worked around the clock. They combed through cities, towns, villages. They checked farms and factories, schools and shopping centers. Everywhere they looked, they found the same thing. Evidence of life stopped 3 months ago, exactly when the transmissions ended. Junho Bei was an expert in artificial intelligence systems. He worked in Geneva, where Earth's central AI network was housed. The building was empty like everything else, but the computers were still running. Junho plugged into the main system and started reading the logs. What he found made his hands shake. "Admiral, you need to see this," he transmitted back to the flagship. Taeyang came down to the surface with Jiwan. They found Junho in the server room, surrounded by holographic displays showing data streams. The AI network kept detailed records, Junho explained. Every command, every interaction, every system update. "I can track everything that happened here." And, Taeyang asked, the last human commands were not distress calls. They were system updates, voluntary commands to maintain infrastructure during an extended absence. They told the computers to keep everything running. Power, water, environmental controls, everything. Junho pulled up a timeline. These commands came from government officials, corporate leaders, ordinary citizens. Millions of people all giving the same instructions. Keep Earth running. "We will be gone for a while." Jiwan felt her stomach twist. They knew they were leaving. "It looks that way," Junho said. Ara Jung was an archaeological specialist. She did not usually work with recent history, but this was her planet. She needed to understand what happened. In London, she found an apartment building where someone had left journals. The entries started 6 months before the silence. A woman named Haeun wrote about strange dreams. Dreams of voices calling to her. Dreams of light and spaces beyond imagination. She wrote that she was not scared. She was curious. The entries continued. More dreams. More details. The voices were not words exactly. They were feelings, concepts, ideas placed directly into her mind. They spoke of evolution, of growth, of becoming something more than human. Ara read through months of journals. Haeun described how millions of people were having the same dreams. Governments investigated. Scientists studied. Nobody could explain it. But the voices kept coming night after night, getting clearer. The final entry was dated 1 day before the silence. Haeun wrote, "Tomorrow we gather. Tomorrow we accept the invitation. I am not afraid. I am ready to see what comes next. To whoever finds this, please understand, we are not being taken. We are choosing to go." Ara transmitted the journals to the flagship. Within hours, teams across Earth were finding similar messages. Videos, letters, voice recordings. Thousands of people describing the same experience. The calling. The invitation. The choice Yunseo was a quantum physicist. They brought her along because Taeyang wanted experts in every field. Now she was earning her spot on the mission. Her instruments detected strange patterns in Earth's quantum field. "The entire planet has been exposed to massive quantum manipulation," she explained to the command staff. "I am talking about energy levels that should not be possible. Something created a quantum field that covered the whole planet, probably the whole solar system." "What does that mean?" Taeyang asked. "Teleportation, or something like it. Moving matter from one point in space to another without crossing the distance between." Haeun showed them her calculations. 15 billion people did not walk away, Admiral. They were moved. Instantly, all at once. Daehyun's Marines found the gathering site 3 days later. It was in the Pacific Ocean, on an artificial island that had been built decades ago for international conferences. The island was 3 miles across, flat and empty. Except for the patterns burned into the ground. From above, they looked like geometric shapes. Circles within circles. Lines connecting in impossible angles. The patterns were burned into the atomic structure of the island itself. Nothing could create marks like that with current human technology. Millions of people came here, Daehyun reported. We found evidence all around the edges. Boats, aircraft, temporary shelters. They gathered here over several days, then, he gestured at the patterns. Something happened. Someone analyzed the evidence left behind. Blood samples, tissue samples, anything biological she could find. The results were strange. Elevated neurotransmitter levels, she explained. Serotonin, dopamine, oxytocin. These are the chemicals associated with happiness, peace, transcendence. Whatever happened here, the people were not afraid. They were elevated, almost euphoric. Taeyang stood on the island looking at the burn patterns. The wind blew across empty space. He tried to imagine millions of people standing here waiting for something, choosing something. This was not an invasion, Juwon said quietly. Was it? I do not know what this was, Taeyang replied. Back on the flagship, Hana was still working on the transmissions. She had found more fragments scattered across the solar system. Pieces of messages, recordings, broadcasts. She was putting them together like a puzzle. One recording was from a news broadcast. The anchor was calm, smiling even. Governments around the world have confirmed that the phenomenon is real. The entity calling itself the Confluence has made contact with humanity. The offer stands. Those who wish to evolve beyond physical form may do so. Those who wish to remain are free to stay. It is a choice, nothing more. Another fragment was from a scientist. We have verified the technology. It is real. They can do what they claim. Move us beyond space and time, beyond physical limitation. The question is not whether we can, but whether we should. A third recording was from an ordinary person, someone in Mumbai. I am scared, but I am also excited. My whole life I have wondered what comes next. After death, after this world. Now someone is offering to show me. How can I say no to that? Hana played the recordings for Taeyang. He listened in silence, his face unreadable. They had weeks to decide, Hana said. This was not sudden. The Confluence, whatever it is, gave them time, gave them information. Let them choose, and they chose to leave, Taeyang said. 15 billion people just walked away from Earth. Not all of them, Junho said, running into the communications center. Admiral, I found something in the AI records. Hidden facilities. Thousands of them all over the planet. Underground bunkers with life support systems that activated 3 months ago. They sent teams immediately. The first facility was under Geneva, deep below the AI center. Daehyun's Marines went down carefully, weapons ready. They found a massive chamber filled with suspension pods, thousands of them, all active, all occupied. Daehyun approached the nearest pod and looked inside. A person floated in blue liquid, sleeping, alive. We have people, Daehyun transmitted. Repeat, we have living people down here, the team spread out. They found facilities under every major city. Millions of suspension pods, all functioning perfectly. The people inside ranged from infants to elderly, all sleeping peacefully. These are the ones who refused, Ara said, reading the facility logs. The ones who did not want to join the Confluence. The majority left, but millions chose to stay. The Confluence put them in preservation, kept them safe until someone came back. Taeyang stood in the Geneva facility, looking at row after row of sleeping humans, millions of them. Not enough, not nearly enough. But alive, still here, still human, wake them up, he ordered. Carefully, slowly, but wake them up. Hyun was still studying her quantum readings. The energy signature pointed away from Earth, out into deep space. Far beyond any human colony, far beyond any explored system. Admiral, she said, I found the source, where the quantum field came from. It is 200 light-years away. Taeyang looked at the coordinates. 200 light-years. That would take months to reach even at the fleet's best speed. That is where they went, he said. That is where we find answers. Jiwon stood beside him. Do we follow? Taeyang looked at Earth on the screen, beautiful and empty. Then he looked at the coordinates pointing into deep space. Humanity had come here for answers. They had found some, but not all. Yes, he said. We follow. Seojin Han commanded the fast reconnaissance squadron, 20 of the fleet's quickest ships, built for speed and stealth. When Taeyang gave the order to investigate the quantum source, Seojun volunteered immediately. 200 light-years, Seojun said, studying the navigation charts. My squadron can make it in 3 weeks. The main fleet would need 3 months. Go, Taeyang ordered. Find out what is waiting there. We will follow with the main fleet, but you get there first. Scout only. No engagement unless absolutely necessary. Seojun's ships departed the next day. They jumped to faster-than-light speed and vanished into the darkness. Behind them, the main fleet began preparations to follow. But before they could leave, Junho made another discovery in Earth's computer networks. Deep in encrypted government files, he found video recordings, thousands of them all marked classified, all dated from the weeks before the silence, The first video showed a press conference. World leaders stood together, their faces serious but not afraid. A woman stepped to the podium. "The President of the Earth Council, citizens of Earth," she began. "3 weeks ago, we were contacted by an entity that calls itself the Confluence. It is not a species in the way we understand. It is a collective consciousness, composed of thousands of civilizations that chose to evolve beyond physical form." The video showed images, strange geometries, colors that should not exist, spaces that hurt to look at. "The Confluence," the president continued, "they have offered humanity the same choice: to join them, to transcend our physical bodies and become part of something greater, pure consciousness unlimited by matter or time or space. They have given us proof of their technology. They have answered our questions. Now they ask us to decide." Another video showed scientists presenting their findings. "We have tested their claims," a physicist explained. "The technology is real. They can do what they promise: move us beyond the physical realm into a state of pure energy and thought. Whether we should is a different question." Video after video showed debates, discussions, arguments. Religious leaders talked about souls and the afterlife. Philosophers discussed consciousness and identity. Ordinary people shared their fears and hopes. One video showed a young mother holding her child. "I do not know what to choose," she said, tears on her face. "If I go, will I still be me? Will I remember my daughter? Will she know me? But if I stay and most of humanity leaves, what kind of world will this be?" The recordings showed Earth struggling with the biggest question in human history. Not survival, choice, evolution. What it meant to be human. Taeyang watched the videos in his quarters. Ji-won sat beside him. "They had time," Ji-won said. "The Confluence did not rush them, did not force them, just offered and waited. And most of them said yes," Taeyang replied. "Billions of people chose to stop being human, to become something else. Can you blame them?" Ji-won asked. "If someone offered you infinity, unlimited existence, the ability to know and experience everything, would you say no?" Taeyang did not answer. The awakening of Earth's preserved population began slowly. Medical teams worked carefully, bringing people out of suspension one at a time. The first person to wake was a man named Han Bin. He was 30 years old, a teacher from Seoul. Someone stood by his pod as he opened his eyes. He gasped, confused, scared. Then he saw her uniform, saw the ship emblem. "You came back," Han Bin whispered. "The colonies came back. We came back," Somin confirmed. "You are safe." Over the following days, thousands more woke up. Each one had the same reaction: relief, gratitude, and sadness. Taeyang met with some of them, asked them what they remembered, why they had chosen to stay. A woman named Jisoo told him her story. "My husband wanted to go. He said it was humanity's destiny, but I could not. I could not stop being this." She gestured at herself. "I like having a body. I like eating food and feeling rain. I like being separate from everyone else. So I stayed." An old man named Young Ho had a different reason. "I did not trust it. Maybe I'm just suspicious, but something that sounds too good to be true usually is. I told my family I would stay behind. Just in case. Everyone had their reasons. Fear, doubt, love of physical existence, distrust of the unknown. 5.7 billion people had chosen to remain human in the traditional sense. They were put in suspension to keep them safe while the rest of humanity transcended. Safe from what? Taeyang asked. Nobody had an answer. 3 weeks passed. The main fleet prepared to follow Seojin's squadron. The awakened humans were divided. Some wanted to return to the colonies to rebuild there. Others wanted to stay on Earth to restore their home. All of them wanted to know what happened to their families who had left. Then Seojin's ships reached the quantum source. The transmission came through broken and strange. Seojin's voice sounded different, hollow, amazed. "Admiral, we have arrived. You need to see this. I am sending visual data now." The images came through slowly. At first, Taeyang could not understand what he was seeing. Then his mind adjusted and he stopped breathing. The structure was impossible. It stretched across light hours of space, bigger than solar systems, bigger than anything that should exist. It was not built. It looked grown, crystallized space-time, folded and shaped into patterns that hurt to comprehend. And it was alive, or something like alive. It pulsed with light that existed in wavelengths human eyes should not see. It sang with harmonics that touched something deep in the brain. That is the confluence, Seojin said. It is. I cannot describe it, Admiral. It is beautiful and terrible and completely beyond us. As the fleet watched the transmission, something happened. The structure responded to Seojin's ships. Light flowed outward, touching each vessel. And then it spoke. Not with sound, with thought. Directly into their minds. Every person in Seojin's squadron heard the same message. So did everyone watching from the main fleet, 200 light-years away. The confluence spoke across space and time, its voice like music made of concepts. Welcome, humanity. We are pleased you have come. The voice was not one voice. It was millions, billions, every consciousness that had ever joined the confluence speaking as one. Including, Taeyang realized with shock, humans. He could hear Earth's people in there. Changed but recognizable. We are the confluence, the voice continued. We are 47,000 species who chose to transcend physical limitation. We exist beyond matter, beyond time, beyond the boundaries that once contained us. We seek others ready to evolve. We found humanity ready. We invited them. Most accepted, images flooded their minds. Not images exactly, experiences. What it felt like to be the confluence, to exist as pure thought, to move through dimensions that had no names, to know and experience everything that ever was or could be. It was overwhelming, beautiful, terrifying. Your people did not die, the confluence said. They evolved. They expanded. They became more than they were. They are still human. They are simply more. On Seojin's ship, his crew was arguing. Taeyang could hear it through the transmission. Some were excited. Some were horrified. Some were weeping. Yuna Shin was a xenopsychologist in Seojin's squadron. She analyzed the mental contact, checking for signs of manipulation or coercion. There is nothing, she reported. No psychological pressure, no mental manipulation. It is just showing us what it is. Letting us understand. It is recruiting, Ji-won said quietly, watching from the main fleet, showing us how wonderful it is. How could anyone refuse? The confluence heard her somehow. It responded. We recruit nothing, we offer. The choice was free for Earth. The choice is free for you. Transcendence is evolution, but evolution that must be chosen. Force would defeat the purpose. Nario was the fleet's philosophy and ethics officer. She stood on the command deck, tears running down her face. It is asking us to stop being human, to give up everything we are, or to become something more than we ever could be, another officer argued. The debate spread through the fleet like fire. 900,000 ships, 200 million people, all suddenly facing the same question Earth had faced. Join the confluence, or remain physical? Admiral, Seojin transmitted. Some of my crew want to accept. They want to transcend. I cannot stop them. Taeyang felt his world tilting. The fleet came here to rescue Earth. Now Earth was offering them the same path. Stand by, Taeyang said. We are coming. The main fleet jumped to faster than light speed. Racing toward the confluence. Racing toward the choice that would define humanity's future. The fleet moved through space like a metal river, 900,000 ships following the same path home. 3 months was a long time to think. 3 months was a long time to imagine what they would find. So Min-yoon walked through the medical bays every day, checking on the crew. She was the chief medical officer, responsible for keeping 200 million people healthy and sane. The healthy part was easy. The sane part was getting harder. How many today? Taeyang asked when she reported to the command deck. 47 cases of severe anxiety, 23 rage episodes. 6 people tried to hurt themselves. Soman pulled up charts on her tablet. It is getting worse, Admiral. People are scared. They have family on Earth. Parents, children, friends. The waiting is breaking them. Taeyang nodded slowly. He understood. He had a sister on Earth, or he used to. He tried not to think about it too much. Do what you can for them, he said. We will have answers soon. Ji-won spent her days in the intelligence center, surrounded by analysts and tactical displays. She was studying everything they knew about the Breathic Empire, their ships, their weapons, their strategies. If they had taken Earth, she wanted to be ready, but nothing made sense. Yoonji Kang was a xenolinguist, an expert on alien cultures. She worked with Ji-won, going through decades of Breathic behavior patterns. They are aggressive, Yoonji explained, pointing to historical data. They take territory, they take resources, but they always leave the populations alive. They use them for labor, for integration into their empire. They have never wiped out a civilization. Maybe Earth fought back harder than expected, Jiwan suggested. Then where are the debris fields? Where are the battle scars? Yunji shook her head. In every Vrethic conquest there are signs. Wreckage, orbital bombardment marks, refugee ships. We should be seeing something by now. Instead, we see nothing. Jiwan stared at the star charts. Earth was still 3 weeks away, but their scout ships were already in the outer solar system. They should be sending back data. Instead, they sent back confusion. Daehyun Nam commanded the Marine forces. He was a big man with scars on his face and a voice that could shake walls. He trained his soldiers every day, preparing them for planetary assault. They practiced urban combat, building clearing, hostage rescue, every scenario that might wait on Earth. What if there is nobody to rescue? One of his soldiers asked during a break. Daehyun looked at the young Marine. Then we find out what happened. Then we make someone pay. The soldier nodded and went back to training. But the question hung in the air. What if there was nobody left? The fleet crossed into the solar system's outer edges 4 weeks into the journey. The Kuiper Belt, where small rocks and ice floated in the darkness. Everything looked normal. No enemy ships, no signs of battle, just the quiet emptiness of deep space. Then the scout reports started coming in. Admiral, you need to see this, Minho said, pulling up transmissions from the advanced ships. The navigation beacons are off. Off? Taeyang frowned. You mean damaged? No, sir. I mean off, shut down. And Admiral, the orbital calculations are wrong. Earth's position is off by 4 days. Like the planet skipped forward in time or someone moved it. That was impossible. Planets did not just move. They followed precise orbits, predictable paths, unless something had disturbed them. What could cause that? Taeyang asked. Minho did not have an answer. They reached Mars 3 days later. The red planet hung in space, its research colonies clearly visible on the surface. The fleet sent down teams to investigate. Daehyun led the first team personally. They landed at the main research station, a facility that housed 3,000 scientists. The doors were unlocked. The lights were on, and there was nobody home. Coffee on the desks, one Marine reported. Still warm. Well, it was warm. Before we got here. You can see the stains where it evaporated. Daehyun walked through the corridors. Computers were still running. Research projects sat half-finished. A child's toy was abandoned in the residential section. Everything suggested people had been here minutes ago. But the layer of dust on the surfaces told a different story. Weeks, maybe months. No signs of struggle, Daehyun reported back to the flagship. No damage, no forced entry, no bodies. They just left or disappeared. Jiwan felt cold fingers run down her spine. This was wrong. This was all wrong. The fleet approached Earth slowly, maintaining battle formations. Every weapon was armed. Every sensor was active. They expected a fight. They expected enemies. Instead, they found home. Earth hung in space exactly as it always had. Blue oceans, white clouds, green and brown continents. The most beautiful thing any of them had ever seen. Cities glittered on the night side. Satellites orbited normally. Everything looked perfect. Scan for life signs, Taeyang ordered. The sensors swept across the planet once, twice, 3 times. The results came back the same each time. Nothing, Hana said, her voice barely a whisper. No humans. The planet is empty. Silence fell across the command deck. 200 million people in the fleet had just learned that Earth was gone. Not destroyed, not damaged, just empty. That cannot be right, Taeyang said. Scan again. Use everything we have, they scanned for hours. Infrared, radio, electromagnetic, quantum. Every detection method humanity had invented. The answer never changed. 15 billion people were missing, but the planet was intact. Power grids were running. Water treatment plants operated normally. Automated systems kept everything functioning. Earth was a perfect, pristine ghost world. Put me down there, Taeyang said. I want teams on every continent. I want every city searched. Find me answers, Jiwan touched his arm. Admiral, this could be a trap. Then we spring it, Taeyang said. Because we came here for answers and I am not leaving without them. The first dropships landed in New York. The city was untouched. Cars sat in streets with doors open. A street vendor's cart still had food laid out, rotted now after months. Newspapers blew through empty streets. Teams spread across the planet. London, Tokyo, Mumbai, São Paulo, Lagos. Every major city told the same story. People had been there. Then suddenly they were not. Salman walked through a hospital in Seoul, the city she had been born in 50 years ago. Patient beds were made. Medicine was stored properly. The emergency room had equipment laid out like doctors had just stepped away. "Where did you go?" she whispered to the empty hallways. Aboard the flagship, Taeyang stared at Earth on the view screen. Beautiful, perfect, dead. 900,000 ships had come to save it. But there was nothing to save. No enemies to fight, no people to rescue, just silence. And the question that nobody could answer: what had happened here? The last message from Earth arrived on a Tuesday morning. Colony Standard Time. Hana Lee was drinking coffee in the communications center when the transmission came through. She remembered that detail later, how the mug was still warm in her hands when everything changed. The voice from Earth was panicked, breaking apart with static. Someone was shouting about lights in the sky. Then the channel went dead. That was 3 months ago. Admiral Taeyang Kim stood on the observation deck of the colonial station, watching the stars. Behind him, 40 representatives from 40 human worlds argued about what to do. Their voices rose and fell like waves. Everyone had an opinion. Nobody had answers. Earth was silent, completely silent. No broadcasts, no responses, no signs of life. 15 billion people lived on humanity's homeworld. Now there was nothing but empty frequencies and unanswered calls. Taeyang was 53 years old. He had gray hair at his temples and scars on his hands from the colony wars 20 years back. He had fought the Vrethic Empire when they tried to take the outer settlements. He knew what war looked like. This felt different. Captain Ji-won Park approached him quietly. She was his intelligence officer, smart and careful with her words. "Admiral, the vote is almost complete. They want to send the fleet." "All of it?" Taeyang asked. "Every ship we have. Military, civilian, cargo haulers, personal yachts. If it has an engine and weapons, they want it in the fleet." Ji-won pulled up a data screen. "Current count is 897,000 vessels. Could reach 900,000 by launch day." Taeyang felt the weight of that number. 900,000 ships. It was madness. It was also exactly what they needed to do. You did not lose Earth and sit around debating. You acted. What does intelligence say? He asked. Ji-won pulled up star charts. The Vrethic are the obvious suspect. They have the military power to threaten Earth. But Admiral, it does not fit their pattern. The Vrethic conquer. They occupy. They use populations for labor. They do not go silent. They do not make planets disappear. Maybe they changed. Tactics, maybe, or maybe it is something else entirely. Ji-won highlighted the area between colonial space and Earth. We have had no contact with anyone near Sol system. Not pirates, not traders, not our own scout ships. Everything within 10 light years of Earth is just quiet. Minho Choi burst onto the observation deck. He was young, barely 25, with quick eyes and nervous energy. He was their best navigator, and he never walked when he could run. "Admiral, we found something in the background radiation." Hana pulled it out of the stellar noise. Taeyang followed him back to the communications center. Hana was at her station, surrounded by screens filled with wave patterns and data streams. She looked tired. Everyone looked tired these days. "Play it," Taeyang said. Hana triggered the playback. At first there was only static, the random hiss of deep space. Then buried underneath, a voice. It was broken, distorted, barely human. 3 words emerged from the noise. "Not what seems..." The voice cut off. Hana played it again. Same 3 words. Same abrupt ending. "That is Earth's emergency frequency," Hana said. This fragment was transmitted during the final broadcast. It got scattered by interference spread across light years. "I have been collecting pieces for weeks. This is all I could recover." Taeyang stared at the waveforms. "Not what seems." What did that mean? Not what it seems? Was Earth not in danger? Or was the danger not what they thought it was? "Keep working on it," he said. "Find me more." The Colonial Assembly voted 3 hours later. The decision was unanimous. Every world, every station, every settlement agreed. They would gather the fleet. They would return to Earth. They would face whatever waited there. Taeyang addressed them from the command deck, his image broadcast to 40 star systems. "We are colonists. We left Earth to build new homes, new lives. But Earth is still our home, our parents, our families, our history. We do not abandon them. We do not wait for answers that may never come. We act." He paused, looking at the faces watching him across light years. "In 6 weeks, we assemble the largest fleet humanity has ever created. 900,000 ships. Every person who can fight will fight. Every vessel that can fly will fly. We go to Earth together. We go to rescue our people. or we go to avenge them. Either way we go. The assembly chambers erupted in approval. Taeyang cut the transmission and sat down heavily. Jiwon stood beside him. 900,000 ships, she said quietly. If we are wrong about this, if Earth is fine and we show up with a war fleet, then we will look foolish, Taeyang said. I can live with foolish. I cannot live with doing nothing. The next 6 weeks were chaos. Every shipyard in colonial space worked around the clock. Civilian vessels were fitted with weapons. Cargo ships became troop carriers. Personal shuttles joined scout wings. The fleet assembled at New Seoul, the largest colony world, and the sight of it made veterans weep. 900,000 vessels filled the space around the planet. They stretched from horizon to horizon, layer upon layer of ships. Destroyers and dreadnoughts, haulers and hospital ships, fighters and frigates. The combined crews numbered over 200 million people. Taeyang walked through the flagship with Ji-won. Around them, Marines trained for ground assault. Medical teams prepared for casualties. Engineers checked and rechecked every system. Everyone knew this could be a one-way trip. Do you think they are alive? Ji-won asked. The people on Earth? Taeyang did not answer for a long moment. I think we will find out soon enough. The fleet departed on a cold morning colony standard time. 900,000 ships moving as one. Their combined engine signatures bright enough to see from neighboring star systems. They accelerated slowly, limited by the speed of their slowest vessels. It would take 3 months to reach Earth. Taeyang stood on the command deck, watching the stars shift as they jumped to faster-than-light speed. Behind him, Hana was still working on the transmission fragment, still trying to find more words in the static, still searching for meaning in the silence. Not what seems, Taeyang thought. What are you trying to tell us? The fleet jumped to light speed and the stars turned to streaks of light. They were going home. Whether there would be anyone there to greet them, nobody knew.